Stay in harmony with the Lord's anointed, those whom he has designated to declare church doctrine, maintaining loyalty to prophetic leadership.
Each of you bring your right arm to the square. Each of you bow your head and say yes.
Yoke yourself to Jesus Christ.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again.
In coming days,
those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming.
Are you a full tithe payer?
Among the most common sexual sins, pregnancy, all ugly sins, but in and of themselves, they're pernicious evils.
Travis Wayne gets all. Let's get to some comment reply videos. We'll start with Book of Mormon, Learning of the Jews, Prophecy, and Revelation of Messiahs, Ben, Joseph, and David. Leah, with the pretty flower as her thumbnail picture, has a question. When a Mormon comes to your door, what should you say to them? Well, if it's a Mormon, that means it's the neighbors, and you most likely just moved into the neighborhood, or for some reason they think that they're going to go get to know their neighbors, having not gotten to know you. Otherwise, it would be missionaries who would be the more likely candidates to be knocking on your door. What do you want? You're obviously not a Mormon, and you're listening to my videos, and it was 6 days ago, so I don't know if you've given up since then. The question is it varies. I mean, what are you wanting out of life? Are you wanting to listen to them? Are you wanting to confound these little teenagers that are knocking on your door? Destroy their faith system because they are clueless about their Book of Mormon, as you can easily expose them as illiterate and uneducated in Mormonism. But likewise, if it's your neighbor in Mormonism, and if it's your neighbor, yeah, you're gonna have to do regular contact and communication, otherwise you're gonna have hostility in the neighborhood. And so, are you wanting to be a good neighbor, or are you going to expose them as their malintentions out of ignorance and wanting to take away your agency by joining the church and paying the church money? And so, yeah, it's up to you. Now, if you're wanting to learn from me about Mormonism and you want to then know how to respond to Mormons who are trying to tell you what to think and feel, then that's different. Then I recommend continually watching so that you can learn from me and learn how to learn from the scriptures. If you're wanting to learn the core of Judaism in the Mormon Church of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, then go to my homepage. I just did a playlist yesterday on Mormonism for Dummies. That is a comprehensive, intensive summation of Mormonism for you guys, so that you can learn from it and then take it from there. So what to say to people? Yeah, there's too many variables in that. it takes a prophet, seer, revelator, and translator to know a prophet, seer, revelator, and translator, which, yes, this is what Mormons, when they see something like this, they want to know. They know that it means that Joseph Smith is true as a prophet, seer, revelator, and translator, but they're concerned. They've got the imposed red flag put upon them by the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that they need to be cautious because it's from the wrong source. It's not from Nelson, which also then conflicts them even further in this conundrum that it wasn't Nelson. Nelson is what they've been told is supposed to be able to do this stuff, and he's not doing it. And somebody else is doing it, and they're not supposed to be able to do it. And so Mormons are conflicted as to which way to turn and think and feel and believe. And they're not getting it. Who's the false prophet who told you to stay away from true prophets? Yeah, you've been twisted up on that thinking. When the Bible says this is how you identify a false prophet, you're supposed to go, oh, okay, Nelson, yeah, false prophet. Exactly as Matthew tells us, and it's in the Book of Mormon too. And then you go, okay, well, I need to find a true prophet. Oh, there we go. But instead, Mormons see, you will know a false prophet by their fruits, and they go, well, Nelson obviously is true, and fruits of feeling good. And so you're conflicted when somebody else comes along and says, Joseph Smith is an actual prophet, seer, revelator, translator. Here's his fruits. And so, yeah, the church really screws Mormons up big time. And yes, you ex-FOMOs. You were Mormon, you got punked. Just because you left doesn't mean you are no longer punked. Because you're still blaming Joseph for what the Danites did. And so Jacob Winterton is instead asking a question, where did the Book of Mormon come from and its word? Well, again, the playlist goes over it in the videos. It's William Morgan. And the Wikipedia page has been edited since I first saw it. The church got a hold of it after I did my videos. But nonetheless, the actual facts can be identified with what they left behind that exposes what they took out. But nonetheless, William Morgan had learned of the conspiracy to destroy America. And during the War of 1812. And so he found that he can work on the book in Canandaigua, New York. That's where Joseph Smith Sr. was the Master Mason. And that is the book that became the Book of Mormon, because the enemy found out that William Morgan had found out and was writing the book. And so Joseph Smith Sr., as the Master Mason, has a duty and responsibility to protect his fellow brethren in the Mason Lodge. And as a guest, William Morgan especially needs to be protected. They were going to murder him to keep their secret plot secret. They were going to destroy his book. And so, yeah, they ransacked everything to find those documents. And they could never find them. And then, lo and behold, there's the Book of Mormon. Because Joseph Smith Sr. knew Sidney Rigden. Not sure how, but they knew because of the results. And so Sidney Rigden's way out in Kirtland, Ohio. Well, in Ohio, not quite Kirtland, different town. But nonetheless, in Ohio. And so knowing him, Oliver Cowdery was the guy to go get it to him. And because Sidney Rigden had the manuscript found from the Pittsburgh Press after Solomon Spaulding died, nothing can be done with it. And too many people jumped to the wrong conclusion that Sidney Rigden stole it from him. He didn't steal it from him. There was no stealing involved. A print press cannot print a book if there's nobody to pay for the book. They're not just going to print it and claim publication rights. It's the author who needs to pay for the book, and he died. And so the print press can only give it away or throw it away. And thus Sidney Rigden had a library. He was constantly buying books and at the Pittsburgh Press, and so sure enough, the guy died. Nobody's coming to pay for it. They got to throw it away or give it away. Sidney Rigden was there to take it. That's all it is. It's innocent. And so, because this wasn't published, they thought it would be a good idea to use as a template for the structure of now what's going to be the Book of Mormon, to branch off from William Morgan's book. They got to alter it to conceal it from the enemy who wants to destroy it and murder anybody associated with the manuscript pages. And so thus using that book, they didn't realize that Solomon Spaulding read it to the bar tavern people as a bedtime story, as well as to his kids as a bedtime story. And so when the Book of Mormon comes out and it gets to that town, they're going, hey, wait a minute, this sounds a lot like Solomon Spaulding's work. And then Mormonism Unveiled gets published and threatens the destruction of the church as well as the assassination. But too late, they already found out before it was exposed. Two persons who were the enemy had found out themselves and joined the church for the sole purpose of destroying it. And so, yeah, and the Smiths knew that this was going to be the case, and thus the way they set it up, knowing in advance that this was going to not last long. So yeah, they did what they did, and Mormons disrespect the Book of Mormon, calling it Christian, not understanding the great sacrifice that Joseph Smith gave and Hiram gave to make sure that we, right now, still have the book, despite the great and abominable church altering it and altering the words of Joseph Smith and creating forged documents to lead Mormons astray. And so, yeah, that's why Sidney Rigden is the major author of the Book of Mormon. Science establishes the historical context. And so either side of you, both Mormons and ex-FOMOs, need to understand the importance of using science in your research. And so no, it's not Egyptian, but they're using the learning of the Jews who were pre-Babylonian captivity Egyptians. This is from Jewish Kabbalah and York Wright's Freemasonry of Joseph Smith Sr., as he had to rewrite the 116 pages after Martin Harris stole them upon the death of Joseph Smith III. Yep, that was the name of the baby. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith III, who went on to organize the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it's a different child. And so, yeah, the Methodist preacher is involved with the glass looking and the kicking out of Harmony north of Pittsburgh. And thus, Smith Sr. was the one who had Joseph Smith Jr. and Emma's parents, because they got kicked out too, to go establish a residence in Harmony that used to be Harmony, but it was no longer Harmony before the Smiths got to Palmyra from Vermont, and claimed that was, they don't really say, there's some confusion in 1838's history account, cleverly that way. But yeah, that was an eye-opening bombshell video that I had come across, as the website for the Canandaigua County doesn't even put it in an order of the events that happened in the town. They talk about one event that happened, and then they go forward in time, and then they go backward in time. They can't do a running historical timeline, but they include that the church has a vested interest in Canandaigua. But the post office was the one that caused the name change, because you can't have two towns in the same state, because postal service gets confused and people might not get their mail. And so our old Harmony was the one that changed the name, and they changed it 2 or 3 times from what I recall. But that's why Joseph Smith Sr. had Jr. go down there while he was in timeout for that whole year. And somebody thought that they could own me by having found a Joseph Smith Papers document of the sale from Mr. Hales to Joseph Smith for $2,000 for his homestead with Emma down there. No. Joseph doesn't have the money to pay for the book. He failed to find the silver for Josiah Stall, and thus was sued for being a glass looker at the Bainbridge courthouse, just north of where the old Harmony was, which is another reason why. And that's where Joseph and Emma got eloped, was there by the judge at that courthouse as well. And and so what this ignorant Mormon was doing was exposing this cover-up that I'm now able to explain and have all the documents somewhere in my files. As the playlist that I did yesterday, I had to go digging to find those documents, and so it took me all day just to do 6 that were under 15 minutes long. Those kinds of videos take me a long time to do. It's much easier for me just to talk and make the video for you. And so, yeah, Jacob, he's now completely lost on what I'm saying. Get rid of your Christianity. Just purge all of it. You are miseducated with Christian doctrine. Get rid of all of it. These were the Smiths, and that because of the incident on 9/11/1826 in Canandaigua, New York, the Book of Mormon came forth. And Joseph Smith Sr., realizing he's now the Holy Grail and the keeper of the Holy Grail, and he passes it on to Joseph Smith as Messiah ben Joseph, and Hiram for the latter days Messiah ben David. Human beings doing all this. This isn't some magical stuff that the Book of Mormon magically appears. Joseph Smith is looking at a hat using Captain Kidd books. No, none of that. You guys are just going way out on Tangentville, both sides of you. You got to understand, people want them dead, and it's the Danites of this church. That's what you need to understand. So don't get lost with Christian abomination. Get rid of all of it. Purge it from your brain, however you can do it. You know, I'm watching Agent Carter Season 2. Make sure they're good discs, converted into digital format. And so, yeah, they've got this device that you hook up to the temples and you lose 2 minutes of your memory. So don't use conversion therapy to wipe your brain. Do what you can to say, wait a minute, okay, am I using Christianity and Jesus to interpret what should be the Jews? And then say, I need to dismiss it. Again, go to my playlist to learn the Jewish thinking. Use that to go to your Bible, to the Book of Mormon, to all things by Joseph Smith. And then you will realize what the forgeries are by Brigham Young, and everything will make sense. So yes, you're lost and you're confused and you don't understand because you're still stuck on Christian Jesus. Get rid of it all. And so Jacob is interested, even though he's lost and confused. Do you have a book list you can recommend so that I may have the fruit you have enjoyed? Playlist. Easy Breezy Cover Girl, or maybe it's Maybelline. That was cute. Black Widow, the wife of Colin Jost. That was cool. And she did a very accurate job. She's an excellent actress for a reason. My goodness. Hilarious. So we're at 20 minutes. Paula Green has 3. I see real estate in there. See if nope. So Paula Green has 3, so we'll do Paula Green later. And there's an old Jasmine that I need to do a talk on temple sex. Alrighty, and then all the rest are trial of faith. I did get to a couple of his emails last night. So, are you and your wife going to church today, trial of faith? Have you not had to talk with your wife? Does she not believe? But this is a problem that Mormons have to come to grips with once they realize that they got to purge all things Christian from their brains and insert back the correct Jewish thinking. You cannot go back to Christianity anymore. I can't go back. My second ex just doesn't understand this. Because, you know, she still wants to be married with me, even though she left me. But she wants to get me to go to church in order to get married to me now. I can't go back. Church is false. I've learned for myself that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is false. I can't go back knowing the truth. And Mormons get upset with me, and they threaten me, and they abuse me, and they insult me, and they want me dead, and they want me punished, and they want me to suffer, they want to torture me, but I can't go back. Can't be done. I've learned the truth, and it's not a spiritual feeling, it's not an opinion, it's not my beliefs, it's knowledge through science. And Mormons just live in denialism land, thinking that they can fool people by threatening with denialism. So, that's my life. You know, the Mormon Jesus tells Mormons to hurt people. And that should tell Mormons right away that they've got a false Christ situation going on. They need to dismiss that and seek for the truth, and they won't do it.